Hello everybody, this is Kristen. Welcome back to Adventures in Metaphysics. Now, as I mentioned in my, what did I call it? Like Tarot meets ADHD video? Or, you know what I mean. Because I've only done one so far. I mentioned that something that I started that's new, that so far has been helpful for me, is that I've been selecting a small group of decks that are kind of my decks for the week. So the main thing that I do with my tarot practice really centers around my morning pull. That is something I do without fail most mornings, unless like we really have to be up early running out the door kind of thing, but it's something that I really enjoy, so I try to do. Oh, we've got a guest. Is she gonna make her appearance? Hello? Did you hear that? Here she is, the Queen Stevie herself. Say hello. Oh my god, she's so cute. Are you the best girl? Are you the best girl? Oh, she knows it. Cat intermission. I'm gonna have to remember what I was saying. Do you remember? Okay. I was talking about, oh my gosh, now I got a cat. Also, do you like my shirt? It's giving very middle school. What's the word I'm looking for? Not gothic, but oh my gosh, I had the term before. Anyway, it's giving very middle school. It's one of those I think they're called like Bobby Brown shirts. Did you have those in middle school? Let me know. I think I used to get them at like Limited 2 or something, but I think it's one of those. Anyways, I was saying, what a cat distraction that was. Oh, picking a small group of decks to work with. So I really enjoy doing my morning pulls. That's a routine that really works for me. So, and then if I pull cards outside of that, I do try to stick with the group of decks I've picked, but sometimes like when I'm doing those extra pulls, it's for a specific purpose. So I kind of can use any of my other decks. So it's not like a hard and fast rule is what I'm saying. So that's kind of what's been really working well. And it's given me the chance to, one, really spend time with my decks, which is something that I felt like I wasn't totally doing. And it also is giving me the opportunity to sort of go through my decks and realize like these are forever keeps. These ones I need to still get to know, and these ones are kind of like, they might end up in the timeout bin. I'm not really sure how I'm feeling about them. So when I'm picking out my group, I try, it doesn't always happen, but I try to pick, I'm always gonna tend to pick at least one or two that are like my tried and trues. I love them. And then the rest will either be like ones I really need to get to know, or if there is one that I'm kind of questioning how I feel about it, I'll throw that in. So that way I'm working with it for the week and I'm giving it sort of its fair shot. And that's been like, it's been helping me really think things through and be a little bit more mindful. So with this video, I thought it would be really fun since I change them out every week. I was inspired by Lisa Papez's series that she used to do. I don't believe she does it anymore, but she still has a whole playlist that I'll link below because I love just like going through and watching that playlist. She used to do a weekly deck review. So she would pick one tarot and one oracle to work with, which that is not something that I can do. I mean, can I? Yes, but it's not going to work as well for me. So I have a little bit of a larger group, but oh my gosh, Stevie's going a little crazy. My apologies if you hear her running around. But anyway, so I kind of thought I would start up a little something like her videos that she used to do like that, where I would take you through my experience of the decks I've used this past week, and then also introduce you to the ones that I picked for the upcoming week. I just thought that would be fun, and yeah, I just realized that I've given it a few weeks to see if this is something that I liked, and, you know, I'm not expecting myself to stick with it forever. It's just not how it goes. But for the time being, while I'm doing it, I thought it would be fun to work through because I realized how helpful this has been for me. So without further ado, let's start talking about my decks from last week. Okay, so this isn't necessarily going to be a review, more just my thoughts on working with these decks for the week and kind of my experience. So the first one I want to talk about is, we'll go through the oracles first. So it seems to be that I've kind of been selecting 2 oracles, 3 tarots. That seems to be the right number. And the first oracle that I selected for last week is the Brian Froud Fairies Oracle, which has been a favorite since I got it a few months ago now. And I just found that this one paired surprisingly well with pretty much every tarot deck that I selected. So how I like to do my morning readings typically, when I don't have a specific spread I want to do, I'll do specific spreads if there is like a full or new moon or something big astrological happening, like when we entered into Mercury retrograde, I did a spread for that. So things of that sort. But generally, I don't follow a spread. So this is kind of what I do, is I pick an oracle card and then however many tarot cards want to come out around it, but generally around 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 2, it just depends. So that's what I'm talking about pairings. This one, like, I don't know why, like, the artwork is so different. I was a little bit hesitant to select it as one of my weekly decks because this is kind of one I tend to use every day anyway, but I was only pulling single cards. I didn't know how it was gonna work alongside tarot, but it worked very well. Like, I was really pleasantly surprised, and also even aesthetically, I didn't even do it on purpose, but it matched up really well with the tarot decks that I have. So I kind of knew that already, but I feel like this one is just a real long-term one for me. It's something special and different. So that is the Brian Froud Fairies Oracle. And actually my other oracle deck is another tried and true. With my oracles, I don't tend to get in many of those or find that I'm drawn to many of them. So I don't have many oracle decks. So the ones I do have, for the most part, are real like favorites and tried and true, because I tend to be a little bit more, I don't know if black and white is the right term, but with my oracle decks, I either like it or I don't. You know, if I feel like sometimes with tarot decks, it's kind of, I need to really feel it out for a little bit. Oracle decks, not always so much. So the other oracle deck that I used was my Coastal Curiosities Oracle, which, oh my gosh, this has been a real long time favorite. I really like this one. I love the images, and the keywords are really fantastic. That's what drew me to it at first, aside from just the beautiful artwork. And I find that since there's a lot going on with the collage, not in like a busy kind of way, but you get a lot of different kinds of images, it matches well with most of my tarot decks. So I knew this is one that I could kind of select, and I didn't really have to think about pairings because it was gonna go, and it proved me right. I tried it with all 3 of the tarot decks, and it worked very, very well. I won't dwell on this one too long because I feel like I just talk about it so much. But the exciting thing is that the creator, I think her name is Ivy. No, maybe not, because her Instagram handle is Hello Ivy. I know that, I feel like I say that all the time. I need to start paying attention to names because I feel like I think of people as their usernames sometimes by accident. Anyhow, she is creating a 2nd edition that is going to go up on Kickstarter, if not late spring, possibly early summer, sometime within the next few months, I believe. And what I'm really excited for is, so there's going to be some new cards changes, there's new backs, but the guidebook is going to include a page for her explaining why she chose the images she did. which I'm super excited about. I don't feel like it didn't bother me that that didn't happen. You know, with this deck, I didn't really think about it because I just enjoyed looking at all the images and making sense of it for myself. But I think it's gonna be really fun to do that and then sort of compare it to the idea she originally had behind it. So I think that is really cool. So that was my second Oracle deck. That is the Coastal Curiosities. So now let's get into the tarot I used last week. I think, so 2 are new and 1 was a tried and true. Let's do that one first because I've shown it before. The first deck I used was my Oak, Ash, and Thorn because I feel like this is a deck that works in every season, but I don't know. I like having at least one animal deck, it seems, in my groupings because that's an energy I really enjoy working with and make an effort to. So I try to have some kind of animal deck, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but it just felt so right to have this out in this sort of like beginning of spring stage we're in. And I knew it works so well with Coastal Curiosities, but I love how this paired with the Fairies Oracle because this sort of builds a bit of a natural world that, you know, the animals are realistic, but it's magical in a realistic kind of way, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because all of these things I feel like are things you could actually see these animals doing, you know, minus the swords and things like that. But otherwise it feels very much in their natural habitat, but it's almost like you're getting this lens of being directly in their experience, which I think is super, super cool and special. So it paired really well with the Fairies Oracle because it has that bit of a magical sense to me. And almost I kind of feel like this is how the fairies sort of view animals, if that makes sense. So I was very pleasantly surprised with that pairing. That's been a really fun thing to come of this weekly deck selection, is just trying new pairings, which is something I always love to do, but sometimes I get stuck in like, oh, I know this works really well with that, so that's what I'm gonna use. I've been trying to sort of pair things that I wouldn't usually select, that maybe a little bit unexpected, at least for me. So that's the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. Now, the next deck is a new one. I think I talked about this one in my April excitements. This is the, I'm gonna butcher the name again, I Naibi di Giovanni Vacetta. It's the Il Meneghello deck. And this is the one that is a pip deck, but a bit more of an illustrated pip deck. It kind of reminds me of Pagan Otherworlds, where it was Sylvain who kind of coined the term pips with feelings. That's what this one reminds me of. But I just love the colors of this one. It read really well. I tend not to jive super well usually with historical decks, but this is totally the exception to that. And I think it's because that the pips have a little bit more going on. Usually that's kind of what hinders me, is I just don't find the pictures interesting, which is really important for me. The pictures and imagery is just, it's very important for me because I'm a visual person. Look at that tower. And that's so good. So this one, I started out pairing with the Coastal Curiosities, but I did try to pair it with the Fairies and it worked really well, which was so unexpected because it's not like a nature-y kind of deck in any sense of the term, but it's just so, this was such a beautiful one. I don't necessarily feel like I still know this one well after this week. I think that's just what's gonna happen since I'm not sort of really limiting what I'm picking. Like if I was doing one tarot and one oracle, I feel like I would leave the week feeling like I knew that newer deck well. So I know that it's gonna take a couple rotations of the deck before I feel like I know it, But I'm okay with that. Just because I know that's what's gonna work for me, is still having a selection. So I really enjoyed this deck though. This is one that I'm excited for it to kind of pop up in a rotation again, which I feel like is really telling on sort of how I'm feeling about a deck and how I think it's gonna work for me. That's been a really cool experience, is kind of, you know, if it's a new deck, of course you're gonna be excited to kind of throw it into the mix, but I've been really pleasantly surprised, and sometimes not pleasantly surprised, which is what happened with the next deck, but we'll talk about it, that I really do have feelings by the end of the week of like, man, like, I was really excited to pick that one always. Like, I always wanted to pick that one. Or I really, like, I avoided that deck a little bit. And, like, let's think about why I did that, you know? So that was really interesting. I'm not trying to do any sort of, like, intentional culling here. But it's cool that my attention is being brought to those feelings if they're there, you know? Because it's something to think about. Because sometimes I hold on to decks because either because I got them recently, or for other certain, because I feel like I should like it, you know, that sort of fantasy self. That's Jess at Empress and Basil uses that term a lot, of like the fantasy self, and I love that term because I realize like I totally have that kind of going on sometimes too. So the last tarot deck is the Touchstone Tarot by Kat Black. Now, I was actually able to get my hands on, this is the indie edition. I don't know if it was a Kickstarter or something of the sort, but there was a woman on Instagram who was kind of clearing out her collection a little bit, and she had like, I don't even know if fair price is the right term, because it seemed like really, really fair for, you know, this being like something you can't get anymore. So I was able to get that because this is a deck I've been so intrigued by, but haven't seemed to want to get the US Games version, because I've seen a lot of people doing comparisons between this and the US Games, and I'm like, I know I would like this version better. I just know I would. So I've been hesitant to try the US Games. So when I was able to get my hands on this for like pretty inexpensive, I took the chance right away. So I really was excited to try it out. And I need to still work with it a little bit more, but I don't know what it was. I found that this one I just wasn't excited to use. And this feels like one I should really like, but I think the faces sometimes are a bit too real for me. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's almost like, you know what? I just put two and two together. It gives me the feeling of like in those like children's scary movies where they have paintings where it happens in Scooby-Doo, where the painting's eyes start following you because it's like a haunted painting. I think that's what this is making me feel, because the faces are so real, so realistic. And I think it's because I know she collages together a couple different paintings to make these cards, which I think is so amazing, and she did such an amazing job on it. But I think the difference between this and some of my other decks that portray artwork is that because of the collage, I feel like it doesn't look necessarily like a painting to me. So something about that for me was a little bit jarring. So unfortunately, I left this week kind of, I don't know, I'm questioning, because I knew I wasn't excited to use it. When I did, it felt like okay, like we really need to give this a chance though, you know? And yeah, I feel like that's all I have to say. And it's a bit of a shame because I was really excited to try this deck out. But I guess, you know, that's the point sometimes of trying a deck out. It's either really gonna work, maybe it's okay, and sometimes it really doesn't work. So I put this more in the leaning towards more like okay area, but yeah, this one may end up in the timeout bin because I think my thing is that I don't mind collecting a little bit, but I don't like feeling as though I'm keeping something just because of what it is, because maybe it's out of print or it feels like something I should like. That's funny that the 9 of Swords is on top. Anyway, yeah, so I guess I don't want to feel like trapped by my own decks into like keeping something, because when it comes down to it, like, if I end up rehoming this, can I easily get it again? No, probably not super easily. Certainly probably not in the way that I did get it this time. But if it's not something that I'm excited to use, it might be something that someone else is really excited to use, and that would make me feel a lot better about it. So I don't know, we're gonna try this. We might try it out again and see, because I really did think I was gonna like this one. I might try going through the guidebook and seeing if that changes anything, because I didn't really get the chance to do that. But yeah, I don't know. I think this whole experience has been really cool again, because even if it's not necessarily the best experience coming out of it, it's still telling. It's telling me something, and that's really helpful for me kind of maintaining the collection I do, because my main point in having a collection, I mean, is that I like tarot. It's my hobby, and I like seeing all of the different interpretations and art. I kind of see it a little bit also as art collecting in a way. If I'm connecting to the artwork, then yeah, it's something I want to bring in, especially since, again, like, I do work very visually. But oh, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, so this has been really cool in kind of making sure that the decks I have are ones that I'm excited to use. So that's my point, is that I like having a collection, I like having a variety, and the number that I reach doesn't, of what I have, I guess, doesn't, like, mean that much to me, in the sense of, like, whether the number gets smaller or bigger. I don't think I really have necessarily a comfort zone. Like, that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when I feel like I have things that I'm not connecting with and don't work for me, so that are just kind of gonna sit there. So, and I know some people collect differently, so, like, this might be something, even if someone doesn't want to use it, it is a really, really cool art deck, and it is something that is out of print, so you might want to keep it for that reason, and that's totally okay if that's something you like to do. But I like to have decks that I feel are very usable, kind of a bit more of like a fluid collection in that way, where I like bringing new things in that intrigue me, because I know that's for a reason, and it's something that I want to look into and explore. But if it doesn't interest me, or I feel like I'm not getting anything out of it, then I'm okay kind of moving it along. So I'm not certain what I'm gonna do with this deck yet. I kind of feel like I want to give it another try, because on paper, I really like it, you know? I think I just need to give it a bit more of a chance with reading, so, but we'll see. So those were the decks that I had for last week. So very quickly, let's go through my selections for next week, which I'm really excited about. We'll start with the oracles. I'm missing one. I'm missing a tarot. Oh, hold on. I put it on the couch. Okay, now they're all here. So this week, actually, we have 6 decks. We've got 3 oracle, 3 tarot. Now, the first oracle I'm bringing out this week is my Old Ways Magic Oracle, and I'm really excited about this one. This time of year feels right, and I've been really getting into Fae energy and working with it as I've been kind of working outside and building up a little bit of a garden. I'm just doing some work outdoors to improve the situation we had going on outside. Yeah, so I've just become really interested in also this theme of this deck, or I guess that it draws on a lot of Celtic mythology, which I'm really interested in, and kind of like a druid path almost, in a way, which is also something I've been really interested in learning more about. So I was really itching to get this deck back out again because it's so beautiful, and I've used this one actually a good bit. It works really well for the spiritual work I've been trying to do. So this one does come out to play quite a bit, and I just really connect very well with it, and it pairs with a lot of my tarot decks, so I'm excited about this one. That is the Old Ways Magic Oracle. Now, what do I want to talk about next? Oh, this one's hard to get back in its bag a little bit because the book is paper. We'll do that later. We'll keep going with the oracles. So the next one was one that, and this one is new to me, and this is another one of Holly Audley's graveyard divination decks. This one is the Laurel Grove South Cemetery Elucidation deck, which I love these little decks, and Holly was so kind and sent me the most beautiful gift of, I think it might still be in my work bag, but I'm gonna show it for sure in my May favorites, so I'll bring it out then, but it's also on our Instagram if you want to see. She made me a deck of Krista, which is like my own little mini divvy of just things about me, and she was so spot on, and like you could just tell she pays attention, which is really cool, because it was so spot on. When I sent it to Sandy, who's exploring tarot on here, she was like, oh my gosh, that is so you, or at least like what we know of internet Krista. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I was able to keep my mouth shut about anything, maybe then like internet Krista would be different, but what you're seeing is all that I am. Because I cannot filter myself. So anyway, that was just a funny thing, because I was like, oh no, like the deck is me. Like it's not internet me, like there's not two different ones going on. So when she sent me that, she also sent this deck because it's the only one of her decks that I don't have. Rachel has this one, and we have it in the office at work, I think because she knows I like it so much. So now she'll be happy to know that if she wanted to take it home, I wouldn't be upset because now I have my own. But this deck is really, really interesting. I'm excited to get to know it. Oh, there's cards in here of notable people of Laurel Grove Cemetery. So it goes through like kind of what's on their gravestones and such. Super cool. But I just talked about the Bonaventure Cemetery in my top 10 curiosities, but these are almost like a little bit Lenormand-like, where you get the image and then just the word of kind of what it is, and then there is a little guidebook with a short meaning for each. And I really love this deck. It kind of reminds me a bit of the Earthbound Oracle, where it's really good to use as a clarifier. So I'm really excited to get to know this particular deck, and especially like how it compares to the Bonaventure Cemetery, because I really love that one, and it's just very cool to have both now. So I got that in last week, so I really wanted to again give it a go. I was really itching to get it in the rotation. So that is the Laurel Grove South Cemetery Elucidation deck by Holly Audley. I said I was gonna go through this quick. Can I do anything quick? No, not really. So, okay, so the last little deck that I just kind of threw in again because it's new to me. This is one that Rachel kind of cleared out of her collection, and I snatched because I really wanted to try this one. And it is the little like Forest Fae, these little rock pool ones. So I put this one in again because I've been interested in fairy energy, and I've not gotten to try this one out yet. So we'll see if I've not tried to put in 3 oracles yet, so we'll see if that's too much. But I figured like just adding in this little deck, I feel like I could use 2 oracles at once almost. Like, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I just kind of wanted to throw this one into the mix just to bring my attention to it, honestly, because it's small. Sometimes it gets a little bit lost in the shuffle. So I've not been able to, hold on, dropped a card. I've not tried this out yet, and because I think I keep forgetting about it. So I just wanted to put it in there and we'll see what happens. But now my tarot decks, the first ones, we've got 2 new and 1 real tried and true, and that is my Northern Animal Tarot. Now in this beautiful, beautiful pouch made by Sandy. She wanted to, or she asked if she could make a bag, for one of my decks, and Northern Animal is like one of my only decks that I just wasn't even getting another bag for. Like, I couldn't seem to make one for it myself, and I couldn't house it in anything besides the linen bag it came in, because me and this deck just have some history, and it's my favorite of all time. And I think just like the story of how I got it, and I just couldn't take it out of its bag. Like, it would give me like almost anxiety even thinking about trying to crochet a bag for it. So she asked if there was like a special deck that she could make a bag for, and I was like, you know what? I have a feeling that if you make a bag, because her bags are so beautiful, if you make a bag for this deck, and she's so kind and filled with such good intention, that I just feel like this deck would be happy in one of your bags. So all she asked for was pictures of the deck and what my favorite colors were, so I had no idea what it was gonna look like. But she made it this beautiful, beautiful yellow color, which shows up a lot in these cards, and I'm so excited about it. Like, I got it in just yesterday, and again, usually I'm even mildly anxious about trying to put this in anything besides this linen bag, and I swear I took the linen bag and like practically threw it across the room, and I'm going to like make sure that these fit, and they fit perfectly. So the first deck is the Northern Animal, because it's really funny because I was going through my decks before I got the mail yesterday, and I was really kind of itching to bring this one out. Again, this is one that I use for spiritual work a lot, so it gets a lot of play outside of my morning pulls, but I've not used it for a morning pull in a while, and it's a good base for me to come back to, and it's got the animals, so I've got my animal deck. So that is the Northern Animal Tarot, now in its beautiful bag. And maybe while I'm going I should just show it, but Sandy is just so kind. She sent another bag because she knew I loved it when she showed it on her Instagram, probably because I was incessantly saying, that is amazing. So she was so kind and sent it, and it's this beautiful leaf bag that she made, and it's now holding my Forest of Enchantment, because that's one that I have made probably at least 2, maybe 3 bags for at this point, and nothing is turning out right for this deck. And I couldn't figure out why, because I've never had that problem before. And it just must be it was waiting for this one, because this one fits it so perfectly, and it's just beautiful. This one I'm sure is going to be in next week's rotation, but I've been keeping this one out because I've been following along with Sandy's deep dive of this deck, because this deck is another favorite. So I just want to show that quickly, but my next 2, we'll keep going with this. We've got the Victorian Romantic Tarot in this beautiful, this is from Cosmic Eye Tarot. I have some other of these, but they're so beautiful. So I picked this one out for my Victorian Romantic Tarot, and I'm really excited to get to know this one more. I've read with it a few times already, and it's got real, like, Victorian headmistress kind of vibes. Jess at Empress and Basil described it to like Professor McGonagall almost, where you know that they care about you deep down, but they're gonna tell it to you like it is, and sometimes in like not the nicest, like in a strict kind of way, like a strict authority kind of way. That's how this deck makes me feel, which I need. I need that kick in the butt sometimes, so I'm really excited to keep exploring this one. It's so beautiful and special. So I'm excited to have this one in the mix this week. That is the Victorian Romantic Tarot. That's the 4th edition. And last but not least, another new one that I've just been over the moon with and already using outside of my daily pulls since I got it on Wednesday, Thursday, and that is my Tarot of the Sidhe, which I made probably my favorite bag I've ever made for it. It's from the hand-dyed yarn I got at Winterberries Yarn when I visited my sister, and it's just the most beautiful colors. And then I used these little shell charms. Oh, where's the camera? Where am I looking here? What are those? Oh, abalone shells? I don't know how you really say that, but I made a bag for this so quick because it felt special right from the start. It's really one that I was so unsure about because the art style didn't seem like one I would connect with. But it's one of those decks that once you have it in your hands, like, you get it, you know? Like, I feel like I just get it, especially since I am so intrigued by Fae energy. This one feels really, really connected to that. So I knew immediately when I got it, I was like, oh, that's going into next week's rotation. Like, I need to use this all of the time. I'm really excited about it. I've used it a few times to connect with the Fae in my surrounding area, and it makes it feel like effortless, you know? Yeah, so I'm really excited about this one. I'm really excited for how this is going to pair with the Old Ways Magic Oracle as well. Really excited about that, and then I want to try it with that Forest Fae, that little Forest Fae deck. But we shall see. I try and, like, just do every possible combination, so I'm sure I'll try this with the Holly Audley deck too, just to see how it is. But I'm very excited about my decks for this week, and I will film again next Sunday or Monday to let you know how it goes and then show the week after's deck. So I hope you enjoy listening to this. Again, I kind of just like talking through it, so I figured I would film it. And yeah, this has been really working for me. So thanks for hanging out with me, and have a wonderful rest of your day.